Okay, today's episode is with parenting expert and guru, Dr. Shefali. I have interviewed her before. She talks all about conscious parenting, which I'm really interested in, and we're going to jump right into that and much more.
Hello, new
Oh my gosh,
mommy.
I just heard that you're in Indonesia. Is that true?
Yes, I'm in Bali, so it's a little hot, but I just put on the air conditioner.
Oh my gosh, what are you doing there?
Well, I came to do a few talks. So I did a talk in Jakarta yesterday and a few more talks here in Bali and another big talk again in Jakarta to just spread conscious parenting and mindful living. So I'm doing a few meditation retreats and also exploring and just, traveling and experiencing the culture. The people here are so beautiful, just different
Wow.
energy, lot of spirituality, slow paced living, nature, just especially after what's happening in America right now, this
Yeah.
just regulates the nervous system. So
Oh,
that's what
good.
I'm doing. I'm regulating myself. But
I
you are a
know.
new mommy. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know, baby number three. It's crazy because I feel like last time I talked to you, I feel like I had just had uh, my second baby, and now here we are with another one. I can't believe that you're over there. I mean, of course, everybody all over the world wants to hear more about your conversations about conscious parenting, which I want to talk about too. But the idea of being in a place where you're talking about conscious parenting in combination with meditations seems like an incredible recentering for parents.
I think, what's missing in our world, and certainly in the way we look at raising our children, is this deeply centered meditative, conscious state of mind on the part of the parent. So, since I pioneered conscious parenting in 2010, you weren't a mom back then.
No,
I don't think, right? I don't think.
no.
So, way back then, this whole way of looking at raising the parent was so revolutionary. I remember Oprah saying to me that, I don't know whether the zeitgeist is ready for this. I don't know. But we tried. We tried to, introduce it to the world, and slowly but surely, it has now become a movement.
You hear all these different forms of parenting when you become a parent or when you think about parenting: traditional, old fashioned, gentle parenting, new age parenting, conscious parenting. Can you talk about what conscious parenting is? Because I feel like it's the most centered and mindful way of parenting.
Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to just refer to the traditional parenting paradigm. So the one that we all were raised in and is
Yeah.
globally practiced is a paradigm rooted in outward outwardly looking at the child as the product that is to be puppeteered, managed, curated by the parent. It's a fundamental worldview that we not only have with our children, Catherine, we also have it in government. We also have it in relationships with our partners and with society as a whole. We are looking outwardly to fix and manage and control and dictate the other. That paradigm is so problematic, it's dysfunctional, it's unhealthy because it strips the other of their sovereignty, of their liberties, of their inner knowing. So we take the inner knowing that children naturally would have on their own and we transplant their inner knowing with our knowing. Okay, so that's fundamentally the way we were all raised. Let's call it the traditional way, the old fashioned way. And then there are new ways, the gentle way, the non-violent way. And I call those ways beautiful approaches to parenting. We want to adopt gentleness. We want to adopt nonviolence. Of course we do. But those approaches don't go to the root as I believe conscious parenting does. So what is conscious parenting? Conscious parenting is not only being gentle and nonviolent, it is deeper. It is fundamentally for the parent to truly deconstruct all their unconscious baggage, all their cultural paradigms, their cultural belief systems, deconstruct them to the point where we don't unconsciously vomit them and project them onto our children. So that requires a lot of inner work on the part of the parent. Things like If the parent, says to the child, why aren't you working hard to get an A grade? Now, on the surface, that looks like a normal, conscious thing to tell our children. Work hard to get an A grade. Why not? What's wrong with that? There's nothing inherently wrong with that. What's problematic is when we unconsciously presume that every child will do well with an A grade. And that is the way to raise children. So that worldview is problematic because A grades may not be possible for every child. Number two, an A grade doesn't really mean success for every child. So the inability to adjust and attune our approach simply because that's the way we were raised is the core of conscious parenting, asking parents to raise themselves and detach from these institutionalized dogmatic ways of raising our children.
One of the most interesting things that I heard my mom say, and I think she's a great example for me of someone who practices conscious parenting, but she said to me, not all kids are parented the same way, which was when I became a parent myself so fascinating because I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? That sounds like it's such a trick. Like you think you're kind of getting in this groove with one, and then you have another child who's completely different, and you need to parent them in a different way. And she was explaining to me that she's parented when we were younger, each one of us four kids differently. And as we've gotten older, it's the exact same. We're each parented differently. Is that a lot to do with being conscious in all phases of parenting?
Oh my God, she really then hit the nail on the head early in life. So y'all are lucky because she was able to understand that it's not about her and her worldview. It is about attuning to the essence of each child and showing up in the present moment for each child. And that is the heart of conscious parenting. And parents don't like this approach, this philosophy, because they don't want to do the hard work to show up in a new way for each new moment, for each new child, and constantly flow with each child's essence. They want to come with one approach because it's so much easier and be dogmatic and rigid about it. And that's why I said it's this dogmatism, it's this rigidity, it's this superimposition of our way onto every child. That is the problem in our world. It's the dysfunction in our world because children grow up disconnected. They grow up not validated. They grow up hungry to be seen. And it is that hunger to be seen that is the pervasive problem in every adult psychosis today.
It's interesting when we first started talking, you were saying that you're in Bali and that, this has been such a great kind of reset for your nervous system because of everything that's going on in the world and in America. And I feel like parents, and we've been seeing so much of this, especially since COVID, are burnt out, are overwhelmed. And there's also a huge level of interest in how to be a better parent, how to be a more present parent, a more conscious parent. And at the same time, I'll speak for myself, I have so much hunger to be a conscious parent, to be mindful and present with my kids. And then I hear all of the noise going on in the world, and I find it so hard to push that away and try to be the best version of myself as a parent in those moments when your kid's having a temper tantrum or you're tired or you feel exhausted. And when you were talking about this experience you're having now being done in combination with meditation, I started meditating in my pregnancy last summer, and I have found it to be life-changing in my parenting experience. Can you talk a little bit about that, how parents are just, because I see it with all of my friends struggling with how to be a conscious parent, even in those moments where you're feeling overwhelmed with everything else coming your way and wanting to
Yes.
be the best version of yourself for your child.
Yes. So sadly, we've been consumed in this Western imperialistic way of living. And what that means is we're constantly being pushed by culture globally to do, to perform, to achieve, to produce, to amass. to acquire. Now, that was not our inherent DNA. Our inherent DNA is to be in community, to be still, to be interdependent on each other, to be in nature, to have a very slow paced life. So children need that, especially from their caregivers, especially from hopefully their maternal caregivers if they're available. So that is what children need in their DNA. That's what mothers need to attune to their children in the early years. Now, look at what we're doing to mothers and children. We're putting them in this fast paced do culture instead of a being culture. That is heavily disorienting for the child whose nervous system is not ready for all that performing and sitting still and producing and thinking. Children live in the world of abstraction. They live in a very imaginative world for the first few years. They don't even know that they're separate from their mother in the first few years of life. So they need the flesh, they need the breath, they need the connection. Now we're pushing children to daycare. And I'm not saying that, I understand everyone is under pressure. They cannot be at home with their children. I'm just talking about the world we're living in as a phenomenon. And I believe we are in a really very strong moment of reckoning, of an existential crisis. And if we're not ready to wake up to see that we are really displacing our children and thrusting them into this world of doing and achieving way before they're ready, the cost of that will be dysfunction in their adolescence and high suicidality and anxiety, which we're already seeing. So right now I'm in Indonesia, and the reason I came here is really to reset my nervous system and to enter that stillness. And yes, I had to run all the way here, even though you should bloom where you're planted. I came to search because I knew I had lost a piece of myself, and I was getting too caught up in the matrix and getting too caught up in the news. And we have to remember, as mothers especially, that we have to discipline ourselves to detach from what the matrix is feeding us. We cannot be scrolling in the putrescence of social media and the news because it will overwhelm us. It is designed to make us buy things, to feel bad about ourselves, to compare ourselves, and to feel lacking. That is the model of the algorithm. So, we as mothers and caregivers of our children need to be super disciplined. If we want to have children, we're going to have to pay this price of detaching ourselves from the matrix, because the matrix is not designed to be attuned to a child's nervous system. And as conscious humans and mothers, we need to make that call and say, okay, now I've chosen to have a child. So, in order to reset and regulate my nervous system, I need to do a severe detox from what culture is feeding me constantly.
Is that, in other words, having boundaries with what you're consuming as a parent or as a mother, whether it's social media or people in your life that don't serve you the way that you felt that they once did? Is that just really implementing conscious boundaries?
Yes, yes. And we're doing it because this is the diet our children need to be fed. The diet of a warm and present and attuned parent, the diet of stillness and space and slowness, a diet of beingness and creativity and play. This is what children need in the first 10 years of their life. So as parents and mothers, we don't have to look at this as a sacrifice necessarily. We have to look at it as an invitation to really enter that space for our own inner children, because we cannot give to our outer children what we don't give to our inner children. And I say this to parents all the time. You think that you can accept your outer child, your real child. You think you can be unconditionally loving to your outer child, but you can never be, because the reflection of your relationship with your inner child is what is going to play out with your real child.
When you're talking about generational cycles, whether it's a 2 year old having a temper tantrum or crying, or a teenager talking back, or, kids having all different forms of behavior that leave you as the parent feeling like, oh my God, this is not right, this is not normal. What do parents do to break those generational cycles?
Well, what I teach in conscious parenting, and I had to open an institute, Catherine, so I could make it a method to coach parents to become conscious parents, because parents think they can just listen to a podcast or read one book and boom, they're conscious. No, it is a
Mhm.
training, like you go to school for everything else, like you go to the gym, where you have to cultivate the skills. So the first thing is, I'm going to make it sound easy, but what I'm trying to say is that they have to go through an intense training to do this
Mhm.
if they want to be truly on the path. So the first thing they do is always to ask, is this about me? What is this stirring up in me? The spotlight has to be instinctively trained to turn towards us. But this goes counter conditioning, because our entire life we've been trained to blame the lover, the partner, the mother, the father, the boss, the governor, the president. This is our training, because that's what was done to us. Our parents blamed us. We blame other people. We were modeled this. So to counter this and to look within, it sounds so easy. You know, every meditation teacher will say, look within. Oh my God, it is the most hardest thing in the world to do, because by the time you start looking in, you've already caused so much damage, right? So we have to instinctively train ourselves as breathing. Oh, look within, look within, look within. It has to become second nature. Okay, what is this saying about me? Okay, I'm looking within. At least train your mind to do that. That takes like a whole training to get that muscle memory. Then the second thing, to ask yourself, okay, what what in this is causing pain? What, where in me is this causing pain? Is it because I have an expectation that wasn't met as a child? Is this because I had a feeling that I've never expressed as a child? Where is this pain? And learning to talk to that pain, because we think that the pain is because the child got a C grade, or the child didn't get invited to the birthday party, or the teenager said, I hate you, mom, you're a failure, or you're fat, or you're stupid, whatever. We think that's the pain. So to translate the external pain to what is the internal pain? Okay, your child got a C grade. Why is it hurting you? Why? And the parents will start off by saying, it's hurting me because I want them to be successful. Okay, but why is it hurting you if they're not successful? It takes a long time for parents to come to their own inner center and go, oh, it's hurting me because when I was young, I equated grades and success and achievement with worth. Oh, I'm thinking that's what a worthy person is. They look pretty, they're skinny, and they're really smart. Oh, wow. Where did I get that definition of worth from? Oh, from my mom, my dad, my auntie, my uncle. Okay, so now let's deconstruct that. You know, let's really understand how that was a false definition of worth. And then the parent begins to realize, oh, I didn't only equate grades with worth, I equated a big house with worth. And I equated a really fancy schmancy social circle with worth. Oh, and now I equate the number of followers I have with worth. So ultimately, it all comes down to how we define worth, and that's a big lesson for people to unpack.
As I mentioned with my practice of meditation in my life, I feel like the reason I started doing meditation and taking a course in meditation was because I was having a hard time being able to take a moment and pause to center myself, to think about those feelings or steps in parenting or my own inner child in those moments, because I was being so activated
Yes.
in so many different areas of life that even when I had, a crying meltdown with a child that is so okay and so normal and not a big deal, I had no reserve left of being patient or of being able to pause and, allow my child to co-regulate with me. Is there something that you recommend for people who maybe aren't open to meditation or don't feel like they have a practice in their life to allow them to have a well or have a reserve of being able to pause, being able to take a breath, that you would be able to recommend for parents to have some reserve in there?
Well, the first thing is to set a timer. I mean, this is how you build a muscle. Every 30 minutes, and for 1 minute, just be on the breath. Okay. Okay, I'm on the breath. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? Just that. I'm on the breath. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And set your timer every hour for 1 minute. It will begin to create the awareness that you can be in control of your own choices. Your choices are not choosing you. You are in charge of your choices. But inserting that alarm, that interjection is the only way. So you do it artificially at first through an alarm, and then slowly you have an internal alarm, right? So now I know when my chest tightens, when my jaw clenches, oh, that's my alarm. Look inside, something's going on. Because I want to take control of my emotions. You see, I woke up when I was no longer willing to be a slave to my 3-year-old. This is actually liberation. People think it's hard work. I'm like, no, this is liberation, because do you really want to be at the control of a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old hormonal teenager? Really? Like, you want to give your power away to a 2-year-old? Not putting our children down, but really, why are you allowing them to be the masters of your internal reality?
I love the idea of also being able to check yourself that way. When I last summer, I remember it was hot, I was pregnant, and I had my two toddlers, and my sister actually came to me, and my sister and I are very close, and same with my mom. And we were all three of us girls having a conversation after the kids had gone to sleep, and my sister said, can I say something to you without you getting upset? And I was like, okay. And we're very open with each other about, everything. And she's like, you don't seem like you're enjoying this. And you have, you know, known your whole life you wanted to be a mom, and you love kids, and you love being married, you love your husband, you love your family, but you don't seem like you're having fun right now. and and it was after a day where both my girls were having meltdowns, and it was just like one of those days. And that's when I really said to myself, like, wait, if I don't seem like I'm having fun, am I having fun? What am I doing? Like, why would I be having that reaction at this amazing and beautiful time in my life? And that for me was when I was like, okay, I need to implement something different into my life to be more present, to be able to be with my kids when they need me to co-regulate with them, and be able to just be present and not in this go 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 mentality. So sometimes it takes somebody else maybe saying
Yes.
something to you, and you realizing, like, okay, I need to have meditation into my day every single day to center myself and ground myself and be able to show up as the best version of myself as a parent as I can that day, or whatever relationship it is. And that's really for me when I was like, okay, just wait a minute. We need to be more conscious in our parenting.
Right. And so beautiful that you could receive that from her. And she had the courage and cared enough to tell you, hey, I know who you are, and you're missing the whole point of this, right? You're missing the forest for the trees. And that's what we do, because we've created this, it's a very Western doing mentality,
Mm-hmm.
worldview, that we need to be doing parenting, and doing, children need to be doing childhood, right? We've made our children do childhood, right? We even say, parents will come to me and say, I'm not raising a child, I'm raising an adult, a future adult. And I go, no, 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 no. A
Oh,
child is a very special human who goes through a very distinct phase, and if you do childhood well, you will automatically have raised a good adult. But if you try to make the child an adult before the child's time, you're actually going to create a dysfunctional adult. And the reason why we have that mentality, because it's this work orientated mentality that we have to take our kids to adulthood, and we have to raise a successful human being and a citizen of society. No, we have to raise children as they need to be raised. And if we do childhood well, which is play, creativity, stillness, slowness, softness, calmness, wide open, empty, boring spaces, that is childhood. If we do that well, we will raise super amazing adults. but we've gotten it all twisted because we as children were never given a childhood ourselves. Very few of us were raised with a Maria, right? Very few of us. So our childhood was taken from us. So therefore, I get so many parents who come to me and say they don't know how to play with their children. And I have only compassion for them. I never judge them because what they're saying is, no one played with me. I don't know how to dance. I don't know how to be silly. I don't know how to do things just for the sake of fun. I cannot enter the world of imagination. I'm so literal now that I cannot be in my fantasy anymore because it was taken from me. So this is the problem in our childhood. And whatever dysfunctional reality we have on the outside in politics, in the government, in our adult relationships, it's all of us being toddlers in tuxedos. So don't get scared by the scary politician or the scary lover. It's just a very dysfunctional childhood at play.
This form of parenting, conscious parenting, do you think that our kids are going to grow up and feel like there are certain things anyway that they didn't get? Like, are we,
Yeah.
as parents, we always sit around and we're like, we don't want to mess up our kid. We don't want to mess up our kid, but
Yes.
are we going to mess them up anyway?
Yes. In May for Mother's Day, I'm actually going to release a podcast episode on my podcast with my daughter. And I told her to expose me.
Yeah, I
And the
love that.
reason why it's connected to your question is because conscious parenting fully understands that it is not at all about the chase and illusion of perfection. It's only about how we show up in the messiness of our humanity. And actually, this grandiose delusion that we have that we shouldn't mess up our children is part of our unconscious ego. So I bring my daughter on, and people can hear it on my podcast in May. That I brought her on to show that this is always about the authentic showing up. It's not about the perfection of the end result. It's about the process and to two humans earnestly trying to understand each other. That's what it's all about, without projecting onto the other, where the other can radically be free to express themselves without fear of judgment. That those are the essences of conscious parenting. It has nothing to do with the idea, even that you're not going to mess up your children. See, that's already protecting the self. Like, okay, I'll do this. Just tell me, am I not going to mess up my kids? Why? Why are you afraid of, not you, but why are we afraid of messing up our children? They will handle it. They will handle us like any human fallible relationship. And we are actually teaching them that it's okay to be fallible because we're showing them, hey, I'm not perfect and no, neither are you. I'm not a picnic to live with and neither are you. So let's just try to let's try to eat a good sandwich together under the tree and call it a day, right? So we're showing that this idea that life should not be messy is part of this entitlement toward life and people. It's an entitled, egoic reaction to life. Like, can I do this well? There's no such thing. It's a freaking mess. It's a shit show. Life is a shit show. Every moment you're lucky to be alive. Now, if you live in that ordinariness and the messiness and murkiness of the unpredictability of life, now life becomes joyous. You're not trying to control the temper tantrum. You're not trying to control the frizzy hair. You're not trying to so much control the cellulite. I mean, a little bit, but not so much, right? Because you accept that we are a walking, talking shit show, and so is life. And if we can just let go this dream of like, let's not mess it up. It's absolutely impossible to not mess it up. We are going to mess it up. The point is not to mess it up. The point is to be brave, to say, okay, teach me. I want to grow. And actually, though, if you stay in a little safe box, that and practically be a corpse, sure, then you may have a chance to not mess things up. But if you're out there living your life and talking on social media and having one, two, three children like you are, and being out there, you are going to risk massive failure. And that is the juice of life. Otherwise, you're going to be a corpse in a box, so afraid to try.
Yeah. I mean, I love even just like ending on that note because it honestly just leaves me thinking about like, okay, everything's going to be fine. It's
Yeah.
all going to be, it's all going to be good. I think even people who have an interest in, how to be a conscious parent, how to parent better, that already shows how much love you have for your children, and just the intention being there to be more present with your kids, and trying, and also just sitting back and accepting, like, it's gonna there are things that are gonna happen, and how we can be calm and present in those moments is a gift we can give ourselves and our children.
Yeah, a lot of what I teach in conscious parenting is releasing our own delusions that have been put into us that are actually causing us to be anxious and stressed out, like you were, and you were not having fun. Your children were just being children. It was your agenda, your movie in your head that wasn't working out, that was causing you to become rigid. And so I teach parents how to uncover their expectations, how to understand the movies they want played out, and how to release all of that. And there's such joy and liberation in that. So thank you for allowing me to share how mindfulness is a pivotal piece.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shefali. This was amazing, so inspirational and just informative. I instantly feel like, okay, I have so many things that I want to just learn more about and be more present. And just the conscious parenting is just such a huge gift to be giving to parents all over. But just this idea of conscious presence, conscious life is, I mean, wow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if people are interested in learning how to be a conscious parent or become a coach and learn these tools and strategies, they can explore my coaching institute. I have an amazing program where I teach them my method step by step.